Exactly 7 days ago, I jumped on this YouTube live and had talked about smoke in Fort Collins. And the reason was because the previous week we had smoke coming down from Montana, Oregon, California, I'm sure, Canada. And there was a week of kind of haziness and definitely something that was not fun to be within. But, no fires were in Colorado at that time. And when I got done with the weekly live, I got a text from a friend who I believe was watching and said, "Do you see the smoke in Loveland?" And I was like, "No, I hadn't." And stepped out my front door, and there it was, basically a column of smoke going into the air, which turned out to be what is now called the Alexander Fire in Loveland, Colorado, and in Larimer County. We're going to talk a lot more about that at the end of today's show, because it's something that I think a lot of people want to hear about in the sense of, if you are relocating to the area, what does that look like, and is it scary? Because we had a friend the following morning at our kind of Tuesday morning men's group that was saying, "Hey, is this normal?" He had just moved here from Indiana. I was like, "Not normal, no, but does happen, not generally this close." So, and firsthand experience, my emotions through it, because they were high and low. And now we'll jump into kind of today's weekly live, talk about high level things overall, but make sure to ask questions, comments, things maybe that you want to know specifically. And if I know, great. If not, then I can kind of go from there. But some positive things maybe first, and things that are general for our Fort Collins Live. Now, this is the second week in a row and second of 3 weeks in a row that the city council did not meet, a planned off and then a fifth Tuesday and a planned off for tomorrow. And so the first time they'll be meeting is the 13th of August. So our first kind of city council recap really won't be until about the 19th of August. So we're a few weeks out. It's been kind of nice to not watch a 2 to 3 hour city council meeting, but I will say, kind of, not lacking for content by any means, but it has been really great to watch some of those city council meetings and understand what's going on within Fort Collins and go deep. So some things that are happening in Fort Collins: Krispy Kreme grand opening August 13th. Mark your calendars, just over a week away, a couple days before Poudre School District starts, which is August 15th. Poudre School District starts August 15th. So, hey, take those kids on that Friday, or if they had a couple days of school, go get yourself a fresh, hot Krispy Kreme, which I have never, well, I don't know if it's never, but I don't think I've ever had a fresh Krispy Kreme. And I will tell you, I am a sweets guy. This is no good for my health, but very good for my sweets desire. Tour de Fat coming August 26th. If you've never been a part of Tour de Fat, it is special to Fort Collins. New Belgium Brewing puts on this parade, this festival. It's an all-day deal. I will say there is a significant amount of drinking throughout the day, so make sure to be careful if you're driving around that area. And if you do decide to bike and drink and bike, whatever, to be safe. I do believe you can get in trouble for that. I think along the trails they're a little lax, so definitely stay off the roads. But essentially, dress up in whatever you want. Lots of groups. There's costume contests, and then you go and you get to celebrate at New Belgium, have some beers, and it's a great day. Usually corresponds with CSU-CU, which this year is not on Labor Day. It is September 14th at CSU. Single game tickets are sold out. So find a friend or go buy some season tickets. I'm not buying season tickets for one game, that's for sure. But we'll see. Dion comes to town. Last 2 nights of Larimer County Fair is tonight and tomorrow. Gates open at 4 p.m. And the rodeo was started last night, and then it's tonight and tomorrow night. So go get yourself some fair food and carnival games and all that good stuff. I just actually texted my wife. I said, hey, should we go to the Larimer County Fair, which is at the Ranch Complex in Loveland, Colorado. Don't know if we'll do that, but something definitely to do. Palisade peach stands are all over Fort Collins right now, with the Peach Festival put on by the Rotary Club August 17th at the Civic Center Park, and tickets are $10, 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. So go check out that music, food, all the peaches you could ever want, and then some. I think there's some really cool news, and it was interesting because I was speaking about city council and that we haven't necessarily talked about it in a long time. I will say that Jenny Arndt was kind of a proponent of, hey, let's buy Prospect Oil and Energy and just shut the wells down because, they're causing issues and there was kind of a lot of pushback. But I would say that's pretty much what happened. Larimer County and City of Fort Collins came together, built a proposal, said, hey, we will waive the $1.7 million of fines if you, Prospect Energy, will shut down. And I'll show you where the sites are in Prospect Energy. So this was an article from the Colorado a couple years back, but it's very North Fort Collins. In fact, it's kind of right on our city line versus county. So a lot of these sites are in Larimer County, but like Hearthfire in Fort Collins. Douglas Road's kind of a big barrier. So we do have a couple of sites from Prospect Energy in Fort Collins, but these are going to be shut down as they've just had tons of violations. The wells were in operation since 1924. And, I think it's a big win for Fort Collins and Larimer County because it's not that I'm against oil and gas by any means, but apparently there was air pollution, leaks, and they were very hard to get a hold of, not necessarily complying. And I mean, from what I'm reading, $1.7 million in fines, pretty significant. So they have 21 days from like July 23rd to basically shut these down. So kind of a win for that area of town, especially because I know a lot of residents have been fighting for it and saying, hey, like we're not against it. We don't want, the gas smells, the leaks and all this kind of stuff. So big win for Fort Collins and Larimer County. We talked about it a little bit last week, but or maybe, no, we didn't. I think I've got a video coming out that's, living in Northern Colorado, pros and cons of living in Northern Colorado. So make sure to watch for those videos coming out and make sure to join for tomorrow. I mean, the markets in general are going bananas right now with the Nikkei, Japan stock markets. The global markets are in flux right now, to say the least, and definitely seeing some downward winds. But what that's saying is actually the bond market is more affordable, and we are seeing interest rates for the 30-year fixed mortgage decrease quite a bit. So a win for some of those that are buying houses, which we've got a client that's under contract, hasn't locked yet, and are seeing low sixes, high fives right now for interest rates. But that being said, we were doing a video about living in Northern Colorado. Tomorrow we've got that Market Live update. But Colorado Eagles owner is considering moving to Greeley versus kind of expanding the at the ranch, and there was gonna be a hotel, a new arena there, an ice center, water park, but recently kind of went and had a letter of understanding with the city of Greeley to build it there. So it looks like it's going to be on US 34 near Highway 257, which is in the growth management area of Greeley, and could be a pretty substantial deal for Greeley, Johnstown, Loveland, Windsor. We'll see benefits from that. Not necessarily the sales tax dollars and revenue that would have been generated for, I believe, Loveland, if this would have been built on that site. But a big deal. Martin Lind is kind of the developer of, in Windsor and around Windsor. So pretty excited, and he's thrilled to be working with Greeley. Speaking about development, Sanctuary on the Greens did receive the okay after the court-ordered rehearing. So the group that is called the Sanctuary Field Neighborhood Network, which is that sued and began this process, but the judge said it's in line with the land use code, the Northwest sub area plan, and you guys can go ahead and build. So we will see the sanctuary at the Greens finally starts to break ground and go vertical. It is kind of a fraction of what it used to be, but we will see some density over there on the northwest side of town. And talk about a fight. I will say, now granted, market's going to dictate what they can charge for houses, but they're going to have a cost plus model, I'm sure, and their costs are probably 2-3 times what they would have been had this gone through and been approved at the beginning. But, in defense of the neighborhood and the area, it seems like they went from like 400 units to like 250 units. So big win for the neighborhood. It seems like it's still profitable for the developer, and we'll see what happens moving forward. Now, I usually don't talk about Fort Collins restaurants closing and openings, but we will because there's a couple of significance that I think are like kind of OGs of Fort Collins. But here's some things that are opening. Gibbs Bagels, Timnath Beer Works, which is taking over the Snowbank operations over kind of like LeMay by Sweetwater Brewery, which is closing in place of Breckenridge Brewery. I believe, wow. I believe they are owned by the same company, but Breckenridge Brewery, which is owner of now my wife's favorite beer, Palisade Peach Wheat by Breckenridge Brewery, will be there. So it might give us an excuse to go check that out. But that being said, Music City Hot Chicken opening up where Blazing Bird was on the north side of town by King Soopers, which hopefully we'll see some kind of spur of development with the Albertsons kind of being taken over by Eminent Domain. But places that closed, the Pickle Barrel. And I was actually in communication with the original owner, Brenda Smith, a few years back when she was looking at selling it. And it has actually since subsequently sold twice. She originally sold it, and then I think it sold again. And unfortunately, it looks like it might have seen its last days. So my aunt, she worked at Pickle Barrel while she was working at, going to CSU. So sad to see that go. It doesn't look like it's going to be reopening unless some angel sandwich owner comes in and wants to take it over. Additionally, Sundance Steakhouse and Saloon, one of Fort Collins' really only Western bars, in Fort Collins is shutting down. I would have thought that Sundance Saloon would have owned that building because they've been there for so long, but they are leasing it and have probably paid for that building 10 times over. But that being said, they are shutting down, and sad to see them go for sure. And then Dunkin' Donuts is doing a revamp. Yeah, you gotta compete with Krispy Kreme there, Dunkin' Donuts. I mean, I'm not a huge Dunkin' fan. I will hit them up every now and again just to scratch that itch. But we're seeing a little renovation happening there. All righty, now let's kind of jump into the Alexander fire. And our latest statistics are this: 26 homes destroyed, with an additional 21 outbuildings destroyed. 4 other homes have been damaged. Roughly 9,700 acres, but have been burnt, with 54% containment. This is the second night in a row. Last night was the second night in a row of no growth. We did see some moisture over the last 24 hours. I don't know if that was there was any moisture in that area, but additionally, there's 625 personnel. I think they're starting to kind of let go of some of these bigger units that are needed. But man, there was planes, trains, and automobiles that felt like that was on this fire, and we needed everything. It's wild to think that it's only been a week. And we've got another week to go until US 34, Highway 34 opens back up. And here at the end of this, I'm going to talk about like kind of our team's annual give. And so we're going to I'll talk a little bit more about that. Would love some feedback, some input, and also nominations possibly. But man, so yeah, last week, I'm just going to kind of get into what the last week was like. Last week, did our live with Smoke in Fort Collins, discussing the smoke coming down from Canada and Montana, California, Oregon, all that kind of stuff that was kind of sitting in the Front Range and providing some haziness. And I just was talking about, hey, like, we got to be careful. It's hot, it's dry. This is when fires start. Fortunately, knock on wood, blah, blah, blah. And then I got a text right after this live, and it was from a friend who said, hey, do you see the smoke in Loveland? And no, I did not. And I'm going to show this picture here in a second. Do you see the smoke in Loveland? And I did not. And walked out my front door and saw a column of smoke rising into the air by, kind of with my eyesight, like towards Long's Peak, but clearly in Loveland. And just immediately we went to the Coloradoan. I would say like my first kind of like concern was like, what the heck, like what is going on here? And started to do some like a little bit of research on it. And quickly found out that yes, there was in fact a fire that started. What I've read is that I read that it started in, all right, here we go. I'm going to share this real fast. Present, share screen. If you're not a part of our Living in Fort Collins Facebook group, definitely feel free to join. But this is my agent Zach's picture from, I believe it was Tuesday night or early Wednesday morning. But this is from his house on, and he lives in the southwest side of Loveland. So his is actually looking northwest, whereas mine, when I got out of my house, was looking southwest. But definitely it was just, I think across the board, relatively like concerning, because we had some significant fires in 2020, like 3 fires with over 100,000 acres burned. And so it's like, you go through this sometimes and it's scary, where the previous fire to that was like 2013. And I remember that pretty vividly. So in my lifetime, I do remember 3, including this one, 3 pretty significant years of fires: 2013, 2020, and 2000, and then this year. Now this year, because it's relatively relevant, and that's not to say that there haven't been other years that Colorado has had fires. There definitely has been. I'm just saying that's what I recall, and it definitely kind of like hits home as far as like, all right, friends, family, structures, what's in the area, how bad can this get, how long will it go? You read the Colorado and it suggests that, hey, and for the first few days, all you're looking for is these percent containments. And forever, there was just 0% contained, 0% contained. Grew from 200 to 500 acres, grew from 500 to 1,000 acres, from 1,000 to 3,000 acres. And it's just like, holy shit, this could get bad quick. And for like 4 or 5 days, it was we talked about on our Thursday morning meeting with our team. We were just talking about, the stress that we all kind of had. Izzy was talking about how she was just consistently looking at, her Facebook groups and kind of these updates, as was I. I mean, I consistently refreshed the Colorado and looking for any type of news or positive news or feedback, making sure for a while there was no news of structures. Evacuations started to take place relatively quickly. They were talking about how they had sent it out for like 2,000 plus homes. I don't know what the final number was of how many people had to evacuate. Fortunately, only 26 homes to date have been destroyed with 21 outbuildings. That's not to say that there aren't going to be others. With our fire, there has not been any deaths. But what was crazy was then we had the quarry fire, the stone fire, and I think by the end of the week, there was like 4 or 5 fires. And my gut was like, is this arson? Like, is somebody going around and starting these fires? And I think I don't like to make predictions. I don't like to, I would say that's one thing that's kind of funny about my channel. A lot of people are like, well, watch people just, vacate Colorado, vacate Fort Collins. I'm like, well, maybe, talking about other videos and things of that nature. I'm like, making predictions is kind of, it's fun. And you got to take it totally with a grain of salt, because there's too many variables that could happen. But I will say, from what I was reading, it just felt like, from the Colorado, and that there were hints that this could have been arson, with, the Colorado asking for any tips or knowledge about the fires to please contact investigators at the source of the fire. When I started thinking about it, I believe the fire started around 11 a.m. is kind of my understanding, right before the live, which happened at noon. And then by noon, it was big enough for people to see. And maybe it started previously, because they did say there was 5 lightning strikes in the area when it started. And I'm thinking to myself, it must have started the night before, early mornings, because I don't recall there being any lightning that morning. But these investigations can take years. But man, talk about, if it is arson, just a sickening thought. Because that would take 2 seconds for somebody to do that and destroys so many hundreds and thousands of acres of land. So, but your brain just kind of starts going all over these places. At least mine does. And I would say the fear of the unknown. How long can this fire last? When will they get it under containment? Like I said, for the first few days, it was 0%, 0%, 0%. And then it jumped to 1%. We're like, yes, 1% contained. But I'm like, what? I feel like they're just kind of throwing us a bone. But by the end of the weekend, we were at 54% contained. It appears that we've got this thing under control. We were recruiting personnel from all over the country to try to come back to Colorado to fight, who had gone out to help other states with their wildfires. We had, I think both Loveland and Larimer County both declared national disaster emergencies so they can get funding from that. And then the airplanes and helicopters that came in, there was a couple of days that they couldn't fly because of the smoke and the visuals. And they were waiting kind of until later evening when that kind of cleared up for them to get out there. But not to say that it is out, it has been put out by any means. We're at 54% containment. Hopefully it is only 10,000 acres that it ends up being, or less than 20,000 acres would be a huge win. 1/5 of the size of the 2020 fires. Like there was 3 of them, each of 100,000 plus acres. So perspective, small fire, but still that emotional understanding of like, man, like this sucks because there was no rain in sight, hot, sunny days. And we're like in the dog days of summer for another 6 days or so. And, no reprieve. So, we went up to Red Feather this weekend for, and obviously no fires there. Weren't going to have a fire even if there was no fire restrictions, but there's no fires in Larimer County, I think, until August 31st. So please make sure people are abiding by that. Provide information about how quickly they can start and spread. And, thank goodness for all of the servicemen, volunteers, firefighters that were on this and other fires in the state. Was actually talking to a client that was, I believe, a police officer helping with traffic. And so, everyone who had a small part of this, just thank you very much. And I think I reached out to my team. If you're watching this live, feel free to, comment. And I don't know how we're going to do it, but I think what we're going to do is each year our team does like an annual give. Last year we gave to the mission. The year before, one of our video editors is from Ukraine. We raised nearly $7,000 or more dollars for him and his family for the Ukraine-Russia war to give and help him with, financial needs. And I think this year we're going to do something similar. We're going to do probably a live GoFundMe for maybe there's a place that we can give, whether it be a fire department or maybe it's an individual family or an individual that's definitely in heavy need. But, we're going to leverage this platform that we've built in Fort Collins, such amazing viewers and followers of this and supporters. So we're going to get some clarity over the coming weeks, once Alexander Fire has kind of ceased and we've got some clarity on the damage and things of that nature. We want to do something hopefully impactful as a company and as a channel. So feel free to give me some ideas. If there's anybody specifically nominated, you don't need to put them on a comment or You don't need to put them on blast like that if you don't want to or don't feel comfortable, but you can reach out to me, send me a text or email, and we can kind of start playing around with different ideas. But it's going to be a YouTube live here probably in the next month or two to try to get to the money to these folks quickly, whether that be a organization or individual. Like I said, we'll kind of clarify that here shortly, but that will be our give this year. And excited to do that to hopefully help one of these 26 families, 26 homes, individuals, whatever, to hopefully get through this very difficult time, and or businesses. We don't know yet. So, just a small thing that we can do, and would love some input and ideas. That is it for this week's live. I appreciate you guys watching. And if you guys, have any questions or comments, never hesitate to reach out. Take care. Bye.